here's the mental health minute for this week. Adopt, don't shop. That's it. The life you save may be your own. When you rescue a dog, sometimes you end up rescuing yourself. You're a cat too. I mean, I know there's cat people that watch the channel, but any animal, it's kind of an act of selflessness, if you will, in the sense that, or just going after the thing that is not perfect. Not striving for perfection. Because right, some people go to breeders and they're like, I have to have the perfect dog. That's pedigree, all that stuff, and that's all. I want a puppy. Oh, look, we even have the thing. But I want this puppy, and I have to have the perfect thing. But sometimes in life, you will run across an opportunity, and you'll be like, okay, well, I'm not really sure. And then it becomes the most perfect thing. And at the end, you're like, I don't know how I live without it. And I've got 3 examples of that. One, my first rescue dog, Sniper. That dog, I didn't know, the first probably, 6 months, a year with him, because we had other dogs, and I mean, I was okay. But by the time, he passed, he was 14 years old. He rescued me. He got me through times of my life that I never thought were possible. And it was just because it was the pure love of a dog. But what it taught me was, after you're like, if I could have cloned him, if I could have, exactly had that one dog, I would have, because you want that perfect dog. But then I got Kaiser, and he gave me 12 years, with him concurrently. And he was also the best dog, a mix of everything. And then this one comes along, and I tried to bring her back. I tried to bring her back to the shelter. I was fostering her. She was a trash bag dog. They found her entire litter in a dumpster behind a gas station, a convenience store. And I tried to bring her back, and she whined and cried. And I talked to the rescue on the way. I was literally driving over there, and they said, hey, it's only been a couple days. Why don't you keep her? And it's been one of the best decisions of my life, because the good that we have done together, she's a therapy dog. She's a deputy. She's a canine. But does she look like a police dog? No. Would I clone her now? Do I look at this and go, would I clone this dog now? Absolutely. Because, you want that perfect mix, but the perfect mix is the imperfection. The perfect mix is that special quality of a dog or an animal, a soul that is 100% unique and has its own characteristics, that was like a new adventure. And I think the lesson in that is, if you go through life trying to find that perfection, you miss out on the opportunities and the perfection in the imperfection. The fact that the experience is what matters, and not necessarily that one solid ideal path that you thought, it had to be, but then you missed out on something cool like this. But a little bit ad-libbed, but I don't know. Gonky, what do you think?
No, I agree. I have a dog too that saved me. And my wife tells me all the time, she's like, that dog, Oliver, when I was in Lemoore, he's 14 now. This little black puppy ran into my garage one day, and I fed him, and for about 2 weeks I tried as hard as I could to get rid of him, and my wife, she won that battle, so we kept him. But like you said, we didn't have kids for a long time. We had a hard time having kids. And I mean, Mover, you said a lot of really good stuff. For me, kind of what having Oliver, it makes you selfless, right? So it's not all about me anymore. You got to take care of this little guy, but actually he's taking care of you, because guess what? If you're self-absorbed all the time, that can take you down some pretty bad places, right? So, I think that's pretty common with people who I consider. We rescued Oliver because he literally ran into my garage one day, and the vet had told us that, hey, this was in 2010, right? So the economy wasn't doing so hot, and she said, we're seeing a lot of people with a litter of puppies that can't afford them. They'll drive to a neighborhood that looks decent, dump them all, and then just hope that those families take them. So But that was the biggest thing with me. I'd never had any pets growing up, and all I had to do is take care of myself, me, right? And I don't even think my wife and I were, no, we weren't married yet because Oliver helped me propose to my wife. So it really gave me a lesson in, it's not all about me because I had to take care of I had to take care of him. He was just a little puppy when we got him, and the little dog, he's a bit of a legend. I mean, he has a puppy passport. He flew. He only flies business class international. He flew in the
Will you
airplane with
adopt
us.
me?
He flew in the airplane with us on Lufthansa all the way to Malaysia, business class all the way back. Just a great dog, man. I just, and like you said, you can't, and I have kids now, and both my two kids are completely different, special in their own ways, and I think dogs are the same way. Like Oliver, definitely, you could clone him, but I'm not sure he'd be the same dog. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like his spirit and personality, and um, it's just awesome because I don't know, it helped pull me out of my self-absorbed fighter pilot way of living.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Doug, God, man.
I like dogs. I like cats too.
Delete.
We've got a cat that just showed up one day. My wife actually mistook him for one of our cats and couldn't figure out what he was doing in the yard and brought him inside. So now he belongs.
Doug, does your cat kill things around the house and bring them to you as like a, hey,
You'd be surprised.
you're welcome?
They're both inside cats, but we live in the out in the sticks. A
Yeah.
surprising amount of stuff gets in that they take care of. We don't find out about it until after they're done.
Awesome.
Well, I mean, Doug, you and I have talked about this offline about the psychology of the coevolution.
Oh yeah, dogs especially.
We've co-evolved with them, and in some ways we need them. We've learned as humans to take care of them.
I don't know how much academic merit it has, but there's an argument that we would not have evolved past a certain point if it wasn't for dogs, that we wouldn't have been able to domesticate other animals. And if it wasn't for domesticating other animals, we wouldn't have been able to have farms. I haven't read deeply on that one, but it's an appealing set of ideas.
Well, anyway, so that's
yeah. I like it, man. Adopt. Don't shop.
But I won't say don't get a purebred dog. Purebred dogs are awesome. All dogs are awesome.
Right.
I'm just saying, if you're like, hey, number one, know that it's a 10 to 15 year commitment. There she goes. She's going to bed without me now. She's like, you know what? You've had your fun. It's a commitment, right? It's not something you take lightly. I mean, you'll miss out on some opportunities. Now, is that really a loss? Sometimes. But it is a commitment. But what I'm saying is shelters are overcrowding. And for me, I think there is no greater, now it's arguable, people say, well, dogs don't understand. I think they do. And I think a dog deep down in its soul, when you rescue them, they know it, they appreciate it, and they will be your companion through the worst parts, because what they teach you is true love. They teach you a judgment-free, just it's pure. It's not, there's no strings attached. There's nothing like that. It is just
unconditional.
They will return whatever you give them tenfold. So as long as you give them that unconditional love, actually, even if you don't, they're going to love you unconditionally as well, because, that is how they've been bred. That is just together. And, I think they're angels on earth. So, that's just my 2 cents.
I mean, there's no denying, obviously the stuff you do with Luna, right? I mean, dogs, dogs can really help, like even in mental health, right? I mean, there's entire veteran dog training programs, right? Where veterans who are suffering from PTSD, they get
Canines for Warriors. Yeah, that's the one. That's the.
Yeah, they get and that's, I mean, that's awesome, and it's.
Yeah. Lou says almost all of the mini dogs we have had, either as keepers or finding them homes, have been rescues. While we have had a few that didn't work out well, most have been delightful additions to our home. Just realize, I mean, there's an adjustment period anytime you adopt a
Yeah.
dog. And I think people don't have, one of the things it teaches you is patience.
Yes.
I think one of the biggest lessons in patience I had was at the end. Last year was tough. Losing those boys, especially after 12, 14 years, was just tough. But the hardest part was saying goodbye and that end time of knowing that the end was coming. Sniper especially, well, not especially, both of them were pretty bad, but Sniper had beaten cancer, or we thought, and then it came back. And losing him happened about the same time that I was getting booted from my last squadron. And I missed my last weekend with him to go be at that last squadron for the last time. And it was a tough time because you saw it coming, and dogs age so much faster than you. But the patience that it teaches you, because they don't know, they're hurting, they're going through stuff, and you have to be able to take a step back and go, well, it's not, the dog's not doing this. So it kind of teaches you that patience, especially, and Kaiser, I think, was even worse because he had a degenerative spine disease, so where he got to where he couldn't walk, and he was, pooping on himself, peeing on himself, and that's where it got to the point where, he had no more quality of life, and he was just in pain all the time. And as when it first starts to happen, just like elderly humans or kids or whatever, you get a little frustrated because you're like, hey, how come you're not performing like you used to? How come you can't do it? And how come, you're in pain, you're snapping or whatever, but it teaches you that patience. So even though it's a very hard experience, it's still, you have something to learn from it, and it still makes you a better human. Empathy.